say colleges like IIMs or colleges, they charge hefty fees. Do you think they are worth it?
For example, if you want to explore core tech, Microsoft Accelerator Program, Amazon, all these companies now, they're not banking on the placements anymore. One big thing that we really need to realize is this placement culture only exists in India.
अगर आप इनमें से किसी ब्रांड में हो IIT, IIMs में, तो you will have that circle or that network to push you. अगर आप tier 2 या tier 3 में हो, you need to be at the top of everything. You need to be the cream to get to that level.
People invest good 6 to 7 years into their preparation. Majority of the students, they don't even look hireable because of this fact only, because they are living in their own cocoon, always focused on a certain thing, and they just don't understand this concept or like how important it is to have that EQ thing also working for them.
And when we say that, personality hire always wins, it is true. So we have today Deepak Goyal, who was an Air 138 in IIT JEE, and then he was an IIT Delhi alumnus, started his own edtech company from scratch, and then had a great exit from there, and now he's a co-founder of ICP India Hub. I am very excited today because we have so much to talk about. I think the ones who love cricket would have seen him on his YouTube podcast where he shares his passion for cricket analysis, and otherwise also we have so much to talk about: career, engineering, and then new age technologies, cricket. I think मैं इसलिए बहुत excited हूँ कि आज तो हम अगर रुकेंगे नहीं तो ये podcast चलता रहेगा.
Definitely, Charles. And it's a pleasure to be here. And seriously, when you were just giving this introduction, just going through my entire journey was I was just nostalgic. Yeah. Because definitely, come a long way in last 14 years and quite different experiences. Lucky to be in that space, I would say.
Yes. I think you've seen that the .com bubble. Then you are here in this blockchain and AI, the transition that we are seeing right now. So you've had that life where you've seen different, eras, so to say.
In a way, lucky also, because majority of the people in blockchain space are pretty young.
Yes.
So they have not seen what exactly happened in .com. So I'm the oldie. So I bring in that perspective for them that how things were back then in 2000, 2001 when the entire the .com thing just came down crashing, and how with the repercussions, how things kind of changed post that era. So luckily been part of that journey and really helps.
I would like you to give me an understanding of what you currently do and what are you building right now.
So last year I was lucky, in 2022 I had my exit for my online edtech business.
Okay.
There was a company which acquired that business, and in 2023 I leased out my offline business to an academy. So it's an edtech unicorn, and post that I was looking for opportunities where I could actually leverage my degree, my prior experience into tech, because my majors has been in CS, so I wanted to do something around that only. So one of my ex-student, Bandul, he came up to me and said why don't we just collaborate and do something new? So we introduced this concept called hubs, which was not even heard of in this blockchain space, where we started India Hub in 2023 April.
Okay.
The primary objective is to basically do all the evangelization activities on the ground, where we onboarding colleges, onboarding a lot of startups, developers into the ecosystem, so that they can build more and more projects on a blockchain called ICP.
Understood.
So it's a Switzerland-based L1 blockchain, layer 1 blockchain, where we've been very lucky to be a part of a bigger ecosystem in India. And right now we have a very vibrant community of more than 25,000 people with us.
Heavy stuff.
Heavy stuff.
Yes. But then what I have seen in your journey is you've impacted a lot of lives. When you were, building your edtech startup, there were students that you polished from, the start. The candidates, the students that were in the early stage of their career, or they were just starting out. And then now that you are, expanding ICP's growth here, you are, changing lives and influencing all sort of people who want to transition into blockchain. So you have impacted a lot of lives.
I've been lucky in that sense, I would say.
Yes, and you've seen people transitioning their careers. You've seen people building or actually making careers out of nothing. सो मुझे ये एक्साइटेड लग रहा है आपसे बात करने में कि आपने क्या क्या देखा है इन दिस जर्नी, लाइक व्हाट आर योर what would be the top skills you think are necessary in this era?
What I have seen, like way back, 20 years back, when I started out as a student in 2004, things were very different. Like, tab hota tha ki if you're getting into IITs, things would be on a different tangent altogether. Because passing out from IIT, if you are in the top branches, then it will give you a head start of good 3 to 4 years to begin with. मतलब आपको managerial रोल से आप शुरू कर रहे होते हैं, whereas people from other colleges could actually take 3 to 4 years to reach that level, if not more. Certain cases it would be even 7 to 8 years. So you had that head start. But things have evened out now. It's not the same anymore because of a lot of reasons. So now it is not like that. If from IIT you would have a head start, you will be able to basically leap forward from your peers. I think that particular edge has kind of evened out now in last 15 years or so. So this is one big change.
I agree. But मेरा question ये, and a lot of my candidates also have a very similar question, कि जहाँ पे colleges की fees बहुत ज़्यादा है, but they kind of give you that exposure, give you that networking opportunity. Say colleges like IIMs or colleges, they charge hefty fees. Do you think they are worth it, or do you think you can
It totally depends the kind of field you're choosing. अगर आप tech में जाना चाहते हो, for example, if you want to explore core tech, then it would not matter that much because उसमें advantage क्या है कि even in tier 2, tier 3 colleges, what I have seen, all these tech giants, they have their infrastructure there also. Like Google GSOC competitions are accessible to everybody. Even tier 4 college students are participating. Microsoft Accelerator program, Amazon, all these companies now, they're not banking on the placements anymore. तो वो ये नहीं कोशिश करेंगे 4 साल पर हमें फिनिश प्रोडक्ट चाहिए. What they have done, they have started basically incubating their programs from first year itself. So पहले
kind of training candidates and training like students and then hiring them afterwards.
And there's a reason for it also because every tech giant has their own preferences, own tech stacks, everything. तो उनका क्या होता है कि जितनी जल्दी बच्चा हमारे part of the ecosystem बनेगा, तो by the time the student is about to get graduated from a college, he or she is already kind of molded into a certain setup. Like he or she would be knowing that what to expect from Google culture, what to expect from Apple culture, what to expect from all these tech giants. So that ways it becomes easy for them. These kids become more hireable for them, and they don't have to invest heftily then on their training part.
But then colleges, the brands that we have these days, IITs, IIMs, तो इन colleges का जो start होता है, the package where it starts, वो same तो नहीं होगा from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Problem is all about the candidates. Like people who are good, I think they can attract anything. Like even if we talk about tier 2, tier 3 colleges, people who know their stuff really well, who have actually polished their skill to that level, would be able to compete with the top colleges also.
कोई चक्कर ही नहीं है.
कोई चक्कर नहीं, but वो बच्चा बहुत कम होता है.
हाँ.
And the problem is to maintain that fire for 4 years when your peer group is not that good. That's a concern. So I personally feel top colleges mein branding definitely helps because there is a bias. Because if I'm also hiring somebody, if I see IIT on that resume, I'm going to have that bias. But now that bias has diluted a little bit. But you know that the kind of environment you'll be in for next 4 years or 5 years, that's going to be different. आपका peer हर time आपको push कर रहा है because they are themselves exposed to so many things. They'll be bringing something new on the table for you.
Yeah, you'll have network for life. You'd have connections that you'd build in that college. वो है एक perk.
Even among colleges, I've seen a huge difference. For example, if I talk about blockchain in general, the kind of vibrance I've seen in IIT Bombay, I have not seen that kind of a thing at IIT Delhi or maybe even IIT Madras.
So brand का भी matter नहीं. It's about
It's about the peer group. It's about the culture. Like because in IIT Roorkee, for that matter, technology culture, tech culture 10 years back was very bad, but now they are among the best. So in last 10 years, the seniors, the peers, they kind of have completely overhauled the entire tech culture. They have focused a lot on hackathons, on a lot of collaborations, inviting speakers, people, events. A lot of stuff have happened.
So I think अगर आप इनमें से किसी ब्रांड में हो, IIT, IIMs में, तो you will have that circle or that network to push you. अगर आप tier 2 या tier 3 में हो, you need to be at the top of everything. You need to be the cream to get to that level.
Exactly.
उनके लिए the good thing is, or the perk is that they can leverage the brand. You don't have that.
Slight probability improves because chances of success becomes better because the peer group that you have would always push you.
Yeah.
A Lumina network that you have will always push you. That particular advantage is definitely there. But even today, what the problem is, what I have seen, like reaching to these colleges, the kind of input that is required has become insane now.
Right.
Like in all these tuition hubs, like talk about Kota, talk about Hyderabad, people invest good 6 to 7 years into their preparation. Like they would start at the early age of maybe like 10, 12 years in 6th or 7th class,
Crazy.
if not earlier.
Crazy.
And that's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So the problem is by the time they reach these colleges, they do not have any EQ level in them. But
Yeah.
the social exposure, the years, the formative years where they were supposed to build that social EQ, they have been consumed in the preparation itself. So
Right.
due to that, certain times what I have seen when these people end into colleges, they don't even know how to interact with their peers. तो वो advantage आपका वही nullify हो जाता है कि आपको बात करनी भी नहीं आती. You're not even able to talk to your roommates well.
Right.
So
So if you think you can leverage that network and you can, like take advantage of the peer group that you'll have at IITs and IIMs, go, get that
And-
admission and, spend that money. But अगर आपको लगता है that you can, first get the skills without that degree, so that is also there.
like वही हो जाता है, only the probability. Like if you are that khurafati kind of a person, like people who's always exploring something or
Depends
the
on
other.
your personality.
Exactly. Then I don't think so platforms matter to you that much.
फिर तो आप किसी tier 2 tier 3 से बैठे हुए भी, even if you're not attending college, online also you can build your networks, you can talk to people, at big colleges, even Ivy colleges,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
तो फिर
One big thing that we really need to realize is this placement culture only exists in India.
yes,
Like kids are too pampered here that the companies come on campus to hire them, and it's a college responsibility that they have to basically give them that platform where they get consumed by these
I think
companies.
a lot of these problem challenges are there only in India.
Yes.
This is one that you mentioned. The other is I was talking to this girl the other day, and we discussed how in India we don't like celebrate or we don't look good when we do small jobs or these part-time jobs.
Exactly.
Every parent want their children to get to a good college, get a good degree, and then get like a high paying job.
And
They don't understand to get that high paying job you have to do some small stuff here and there.
I'll just share one experience of mine. When I was in my third year, then a majority of my peers, they were looking for the best companies to work with, like
Yeah.
Googles and Microsofts of the world. They wanted to like get into ITC, all those, so that their resume should look good. Their CV
Right.
should look very attractive. I instead chose to work for a startup.
Yeah.
And luckily, that startup became very big. The startup SITG group, one of their products was Fashion in You, which at one point of time was even bigger than Flipkart. So they
I
had
have heard of this Fashion in You. I
Yes,
think
they had all the money and I was the part of their initial journey.
Okay.
So the kind of exposure that I had, like we had like 3,000 active users a day and I ran certain campaigns for them during that 2-3 months of internship, and we were able to increase the daily user flow by at least 33 to 40%. So the kind of impact I was able to have as an intern was
Yeah.
immense, amazing.
you will not get this impact if you're working for a big corp.
Corps.
You have to understand that when you'll just be a part of a crowd.
Yes.
Your work will not matter. You'll just another number.
And I clearly remember, like one of my bosses, his name, if I remember correctly, was Vikas Java, and he was from SRCC Eco Honors, Sri Ram College of Commerce, and he sat down with me on my last day of internship and said, "We're going to give you a budget of 80 lakh rupees. You have to develop a particular vertical in the
my
company
God.
itself." And I could not even understand the opportunity, to be honest.
Yes.
Because we were so fixated that I'll be going for placements, I'll be sitting for placements, I'll get hired by a company. I didn't even look for that opportunity. And now, I think if one regret I would have going back all these years would be that. Because in that era, 2007, having that kind of an exposure to cash, to
E-commerce,
opportunity
yeah,
was
yeah.
immense. I could have
I think e-commerce was just,
just starting up.
just starting up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they really saw that potential in that 2 to 3 months of internship, and they were funded startup. They had good funding. Sequoia also invested in them at one point of time. So all these opportunities come in when you try to tread a path which is little different from the traditional ones.
Yes.
So this was really helpful for me.
Yeah.
And even you have seen companies now, give a lot of weightage to LORs, and also extracurricular activities. There's a reason to that also, because you want to hire people, those who have a life beyond education, life beyond company also, because
Who are driven by passion.
Passion.
Who have something, they're not just driven by money, they have something.
There's another reason to it also. Like, for example, if you hire a node, that
Yeah.
person is going to be paying for everybody in the team. Because that
Right.
person will never be able to gel with the team. If you would want that person to lead a certain team, he'll be a nightmare for everyone. So you
Right.
need people to have life beyond work also, so that they can give that environment to their juniors, to their peers, to their maybe seniors also in the group, so that they become the part of the team. They know what exactly is a team play, what exactly it is all about. Because an organization cannot work if somebody is just sitting in a corner. Maybe he or she is the best in that skill, but
Right.
not able to bring anything on the table as far as the team bonding or the team culture is concerned.
Right.
So there's a very famous quote by Zakir, जो फेमस कॉमेडियन, उन्होंने कहा था कि आदमी 19 चल सकता है, मतलब काम 19 चल सकता है, आदमी 21 चाहिए. मतलब
सही
काम
बात.
कभी नहीं रुकता. वर्क इज गोइंग टू गो ऑन
And
forever.
when we say that, personality hire always wins, ये personality hire लोग मतलब prefer करते हैं, it is true. When you're giving your interview, they are not just looking at your skills वाला पार्ट, या जो आपके टेक स्टैक है, जो भी आपका टेक्नोलॉजी है, they have already gauged that in your resume. The
Exactly.
interview is to gauge your personality.
Exactly.
And if you would be a good team player or not, ये सब चीज़ें आपके इंटरव्यू में ही चेक कर रहे हैं वो. तो you have to make sure that you come across as a person who would be able to kind of work in
Yes,
teams.
you have to become hireable.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest challenge. Like,
It is.
I have seen when I've gone to all these top colleges, I've been to almost all the top IITs and also majority of the students, they don't even look hireable because of this fact only, because they
Yeah.
are living in their own cocoon, always focus on a certain thing, and they just don't understand this concept, or like how important it is to have that EQ thing also working for them.
And so what I have understood is you don't get it in one day. You have to understand that to get the skill, you need to do it every single day. It
Exactly.
cannot be transaction.
Exactly.
It should come from heart. Networking हो गई, या building connections, या being there for others. It has to be every day.
Exactly.
It cannot be
And
transactional.
all these college campuses give you ample opportunities in this particular domain. Like, there's so many events. Now, students are, I would say, over-pampered as far as events and opportunities are concerned. They are overwhelmed also. Because they have every now and then, they have so much on their platter, because like there's so many things happening all throughout the year, with a lot of companies doing hackathons. Even cultural events are there, sports events are there, budgets are insane. So now I don't think so anybody can even complain that he or she is not getting the right platform for such a thing. So just need to have that right mindset for that.
Yes. And I think for people who are not going to college, say they are distance education वाले जो students हैं, या फिर जो like they are doing something of their own, there also they have a lot of opportunities for exposures. There are a lot of companies who are doing meetups, events. You just have to explore.
Yes.
Everything is out there. Internet is now like मतलब information overload है सबके लिए.
I'll just share, like, I can share my personal experience. I've not been in tech for last 14 years. Like, we did an edtech startup. We even managed to sell it for a good price. But the majority of the tech was handled by the team. I was not directly
Yeah.
involved in it. And to take a leap forward into something called Web3, which is completely new for the entire Indian ecosystem also, happened literally overnight for me. For one basic reason, because I was always a people's person. I was always able to have long conversations with people, able to discuss about the technologies, able to keep myself relevant all these years also.
Right.
Even though I was not even remotely associated with all these things, but I always kept it in my mind that I have to be relevant for this particular thing. And this skill, I think, somehow was inculcated into my ecosystem during my formative years only. When I was, because I was, I don't look like, but I was into sports at one point of time. So
You are still like.
but like in a way, yes.
Yeah.
So that really helped. These things really help. So I think these are the aspects what I've seen in current student ecosystem a big time missing, and even at the college level also. This is something which we really need to rethink. We need to rebrand, or maybe need to reintroduce it at the formative year level also.
Now that you are saying this, I am just reminded of this, learning that I just like read it somewhere on LinkedIn that whenever you are networking or whenever you're building your connections, it is not about that meeting or when you first met or like any conversation for that matter. It is about the times you follow up. It is about how you keep in touch. So even if you were not directly in conversation with them, what helped you was that you always you kept this in mind that you want to stay in touch with them. On and off भी रहा कोई बात नहीं, but you made sure that you
Chalo,
are in touch.
I'll just ask you one question also. Like, what do you think 10 years down the line would be one skill which will be the most relevant skill? Because AI is taking over everything. Coding might not remain that much relevant going forward.
My 100% vote would be storytelling.
I personally believe people skill.
Yeah,
Because
which is the same only.
same thing only.
हाँ.
Exactly
Storytelling,
the
मतलब how you connect with people through stories, through how do you kind of make
how
connection.
you're able to lead teams, because people might not be that much dependent on a certain skill set, because technology is going to basically even out that.
Yeah.
Because there will be tools assisting you, so one skill where you will be able to stand out from the rest of the crowd would be people skill. How well you're able to manage teams, how well you're able to lead teams,
How well you're able to manage AI also.
exactly, and able to communicate also.
Yes.
The thing that you
Prompts,
said.
yeah. So everything here comes down to just one thing: how you're able to build and sustain relationships and connections.
Communication matters.
Yeah.
And this is one very underrated skill which majority of the tech people don't understand at all.
Yeah.
They think that this is the most, I would say, overrated skill. They don't even have to focus on this, but I think it's the other way around.
And the other problem is a lot of people confuse communication with just the verbal communication.
Yes.
They don't understand it's just like a small part of it.
Yes.
How how is your body language, how you what are your gestures, everything matters.
Exactly.
Know?
Your even writing skills I would say, they reflect your personality in a way or other.
Yeah.
Like,
तो ये एक holistic आपको development लाना पड़ेगा अपने अंदर, not just verbal, but how you are able to make the other person feel good about your presence.
and we have seen people, you might have seen that somebody maybe leading a cola company would suddenly start leading a tech company, or the other way around, because the generic principles remain the same. Even if you're not into a certain domain, after a certain time you realize that leading a team, leading a tech, or leading anything becomes pretty much agnostic. So it's a skill agnostic kind of a thing, where you might not be very centric to that skill, but you are having a bird's eye view about that particular ecosystem, and you're able to run the show. And majority of people do that. When the top level hirings happen, then he or she might not be even coming from the relevant field, but still able to do a good job because they know how to manage people, how to manage teams, how to manage all those things. So these things definitely matter a lot.
और अभी problem क्या आ रही है sir? Like very recently I was reading this article, and a lot of Gen Zs, they don't want to manage teams. They want to work as individual contributors. This is like a genuine problem. People don't want to get promoted to a managerial role. They want promotion हो, but अपना individual contribution ही रहे. Do you think?
ये हमें काफी बड़ा concern है. Like, what exactly is happening? Like, we have incubated a dozen of startups in Cruisefare ICP India Hub, and a lot of the times the founders and the co-founders, they are not able to hire their teams because of this reason only, because they just don't want to work with anyone. So we have been doing a lot of skill matchmaking also, and it's been a pain, because certain times this eccentricity really becomes a problem for us, where people just don't like that kind of an environment where they have to gel with other people, communicate things to others. Like, this is a huge concern.
What is the reason, but like
kind of
how this sudden shift?
Kind of brought up, because now in today's generation, if you look at, majority of the kids are pampered. They just have like at max a sibling, that's it. And majority of the cases even not that. So the parents are giving so much eccentric focus to them all the time. They're all micro things are also looked after by the parents. This is not the scene when we people were growing up, because we always had that joint family kind of an ecosystem, at least close to that. Even if we were part of nuclear families, we had that society culture where we were part of that bigger ecosystem all the time. Now, kids are confined to their own particular ecosystems. They don't interact much with others, because a lot of reasons are there. Like, parents don't even have the time. You can't even trust that ecosystem also, because social norms have changed over the years. So with that kind of a personality, where you've been surrounded with gadgets in your formative years all the time, and suddenly you have to break that layer and interact with humans, something
Right.
which you have not even done for the majority of your life, is a big challenge.
Solution क्या है फिर?
I think parents need to understand this.
Because I think अगर you're not able to kind of transition into a managerial role, आपकी growth will one day, you'll get stuck. Growth-
I'll share what I have done with my kids. What I have done with them is I have forced them. I would not say force exactly, because it was obviously their choice, but I have kind of encouraged them to choose certain sports at an early age.
Yeah.
Sports,
That
certain
helps.
community-based skill, maybe a dance class where they go and interact with other kids, do their stuff, something of that sort, music, dance, sports, something where there's a community play involved. So
Yeah.
that particular thing has helped me a lot, because once you go out, because if you want to play cricket, you need a team. You just can't
Right,
play it
play
in your
alone.
background, in your backyard. It just doesn't work like that. You at least need 3 to 4 people. You need to communicate with them. You need to even certain times take up their tantrums. Also need to
Yeah.
find a way out, how to
Right.
basically keep them interested in your thing. So that ways they learn. I think this is one aspect which is very
Team
important.
spirit is what you learn from games.
Leadership, team
Yeah, yeah.
spirit, patience, multiple skills you learn.
But अभी ये वाला चलो, this is one solution that we inculcate this from early
age.
ठीक है. But for for these students or these candidates who are in their early careers now,
I
how
think
do they make sure that they're not missing out?
They are brilliant platforms. For example, Toastmasters is one such platform.
Yeah.
I think they can basically be a part of this at an early, I would say during the college life, during the professional lives also, because there are so many community Toastmasters clubs. Similar concepts also exist where you can go and can learn about public speaking, can observe people, can take up small roles to be a part of the leadership group. There are multiple such things, and even anything similar to these things can be actually explored. So there are now other things also, like I know all these big cities, metropolitans have biker clubs. So all those things are there where people gel together on the weekends. They go out for biking trips with families, at stags. Like there are a lot of things to that.
Work on your personality, work on
Yes.
like team management. These skills will one day help you to.
And I've seen like a close friend of mine, a founder of Ola, Bhavesh. So how he was an introvert to begin with.
Acha.
Very introverted guy. So we prepared for IT together. So during that time, I hardly used to interact with anyone. So how he changed it during the college. So he used to share that experience. So first of all, he became a part of a cycling group.
Okay.
So there was a Nilgiri tour also where he used to share that in 7 days they were supposed to cover 800 kilometers
Acha.
on cycle. So and then when he was in Bangalore, Bengaluru, so I don't even remember the name of the band now. He was the official photographer of one of the bands.
Oh.
So he took these small things to be a part of the
You
community.
just need to have will.
Yes.
And then everything else will follow, because इतने सारे groups, communities are already existing to solve this problem.
Yes.
आप जाओ, search करो internet पे, you will find a solution for your problem. Just that you need to have it in yourself.
Yes.
Will तो अंदर से आनी पड़ेगी.
हाँ, बिल्कुल सही. And you can actually always take up these small things. Some of these ideas might sound really crazy, out of the box ideas also, but they help. And you have to understand what exactly gives you happiness, something which you can sustain also for a
Yes.
little longer period of time, like for 6 months, 3 months, something which is always a quick fix, but a temporary fix might not sustain for that long and might not work for you also.
Yeah.
You have to understand what exactly goes with your personality and still can give you a wider range of perspectives about things.
You don't need to change your personality for that
sure,
matter.
for sure,
You
for
just
sure.
need to polish it.
Polish it.
Yeah.
And I've
that's
seen
this-
like majority of the people, they have certain interests in certain extracurricular activities also. They park it during the preparation years, keep it in a locker, and just somehow forget to unlock that locker forever. So once you go into a college ecosystem, you should try to unlock all that. Try to explore those, and don't be judgmental about yourself. Be open about it, because you don't have to think that what other would say, that maybe the other people are more talented, XYZ. Don't have to think on those
And
lines.
the problem is, sir, when you are, at that age where you are just trying to, make a career, looking for jobs, you think that everything else doesn't matter. I just need to focus on one thing, on my studies or on my job. Now you have to understand that whatever you're doing, even if it's cricket, even if it's a game or whatever you like doing, it will eventually help you. Every skill that you'll build from there is transferable to your job.
If you look at, if I talk about IITs in general, the
Yeah.
most celebrated jobs during my time were the consults and the iBanks, right? And these consults used to give a lot of weightage to leadership roles, to extracurricular activities. So there were special weightages given to that.
It's
CG mattered,
Yeah.
but after a certain level, they were almost on the even keen. Like in IIT Delhi, they had a scale of 10. So if you were 7.5 to 8 plus, it was almost the same. 8.5 is a very safe range for you. You might not be even in the 9s or the high 9s. That would not require, but you need to have a quite diversified resume for that kind of a role. And I think it must be the same with the IIMs also, as far
everywhere,
as consults are concerned.
I think the problem is when you think कि ये तो मेरे job में कुछ काम नहीं आएगा या ये कुछ भी relatable नहीं है, that's where you are losing your personality. Because आपको there are, आप ये देखो ना, the difference I noticed in like an IIT or IIM resume and a tier 2 tier 3 college resume was, एक तो सबसे पहले कि जो एक्टिविटीज़ हैं, बिकॉज दे अंडरस्टैंड दिस, दे नो मैं जो भी कॉलेज में एक एक चीज़, मैं लीडरशिप का कोई भी रोल ले रहा हूँ या फिर वट एवर आई एम डूइंग एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर, दैट विल इम्पैक्ट, दैट विल हैव एन इम्पैक्ट ऑन माई रेज्यूमे. तो दे गिव इट लाइक they do it with dedication, they give their 100% there, and they have multiple these opportunities in their resume. तो वो वाली एक कमी है. दूसरी कमी है, they know how to sell themselves. वो उस स्किल को ना, अगर उन्होंने एक फॉर एग्जांपल एक कम्युनिटी बनाई थी, तो वो उसको मेट्रिक्स के साथ, इनसाइट्स के साथ, वो पूरा उसको ऐसे सेल करेंगे दैट द अदर कंपनी वुड नो दैट दिस गाय हैज द स्किल एंड ही कैन क्रिएट.
And there's a reason to this also, because I saw a reel recently, a very, I think, kind of changed my entire perspective. Like with my kids, I had a different perspective before that reel, and then that reel kind of changed the entire premises on which I was building the entire thought process. So that lady said, like people who are champions, like who have that mentality of a champion, they would try to do well in almost every walk of life.
Yes.
So it's not about like she was just sharing experience. I went to one of my school parent teacher meetings, and there was a kid who said कि आंटी मुझे तो 40% लेके आने, मेरे को तो क्रिकेटर बनना है ना. I was like, doesn't work like that, because somebody who's a champion would always want to excel in literally everything. They have that mentality that they cannot accept a mediocre effort in almost anything that they're doing. And I've seen that.
This will stay with me for a long time.
And this is actually the reason why all these students from top colleges end up doing really well, able to mold themselves well because of this winner mentality. It's not about what they learn at the college, it's the inherited sensitivity that they have. Recently also there was a communication, I think there was some debate or something, or maybe an interview where somebody asked one of the unicorn founders about this, like how you managed to diversify so much. कहते मैं तो बचपन से ऐसा हूँ, तो I know like करना है तो अच्छे से करना है.
Right. Very simple. College में, अपनी university में try to be part of all the activities जहाँ तक हो सके, and give your best.
Yes, and we have to be always surrounded by people who are pushing you forward, because you're always the average of that.
Don't worry about कि marks कम रह जाएंगे, job नहीं मिलेगा. It all boils down to you building your personality, and everything will fall into place. ऐसा कोई स्किल नहीं है किसी भी एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर का जो आपके जॉब में नहीं हो सकता.
I think as you mentioned earlier, companies hire great personalities.
Yeah.
They want, because, and reason बताता हूँ, like if I would hire an intern, for example, kind of mentality I'll have. मेरी कोशिश ये होगी, if I'm bringing that person in, maybe like for like 20,000 stipend, फिर उसे मैं लेके आ रहा हूँ 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, maybe 6 months internship.
Right.
By the time that guy is about to end his or her internship, मेरे दिमाग में ये होना चाहिए कि अब सेम काम के लिए इस आदमी को मैं 1 लाख देना चाहता हूँ कि नहीं.
Right.
If you are able to convince me in those 3, 4, 6 months that for the same work you can get 5x the amount from me, then that means you are a hireable person. Then that means that you are having all that things wired into your personality which any company would be looking forward to. So this is how people, startups in general, even I would say might be the same with the corporates also. I have not worked that much with the corporates, but the limited exposure that I have, I can bet on that. So they always look this kind of a thing in their interns. Like, we've hired somebody for a very menial salary, but whether he or she is able to justify that they are now a finished product or already were a finished product, where we're able to bet on them even at 5x or 10x the salary also.
Right.
So this is the general rule that majority of the companies follow.
Yeah.
And for the same work also, whether you deserve 5x salary or not.
Yes.
So you need to understand that. So you don't have to pick your internships also keeping this in mind कि हाँ तो stipend अच्छा मिल रहा है, ये है वो है. Always understand.
ये वाला
that.
प्रॉब्लम है. ये वाला प्रॉब्लम का सोल्यूशन भी यही है कि सबसे पहले तो एक्सपोजर जहाँ से, जैसे यू ऑल्सो टोल्ड अबाउट योर इंटर्नशिप, ठीक है, तो लुक एट द काइंड ऑफ एक्सपोजर, द एक्सपीरियंस दैट यू गेटिंग इन दैट इंटर्नशिप, और आपको इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट करने का मौका मिल रहा है कि नहीं.
Exactly.
क्योंकि वो इम्पैक्ट ही आप आगे सेल कर पाओगे. आप वो अपना स्टाइपेंड सेल नहीं कर पाओगे कि मुझे इतना स्टाइपेंड मिल रहा था, आई ऑल्सो डिजर्व दिस मच. नो, इट डजंट वर्क लाइक दैट. इट वर्क्स लाइक आपने पहले क्या इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट किया है, एंड इफ यू हैव अ प्रूफ ऑफ दैट इम्पैक्ट दैट यू क्रिएटेड, उसके बेसिस पे यू विल गेट अ जॉब.
I think during my internship, I was able to work on a Facebook application. I coded a Facebook application called India Dekha. At 2007, there were hardly 50,000 users of Facebook in India. It had just started at that time.
2007, I don't remember I had a Facebook account.
I don't think so, because majority of the people were on Orkut only.
Yeah.
Hardly anybody used to have a Facebook account. So this was this very simple app. If you have traveled to certain part of India, you just had to pin it on that app. A very simple app. So I made that app India Dekha, and became a viral phenomena. And that particular thing helped me in getting hired during my job, because I was hired for a global role. I worked in Zurich as my first job assignment. So that particular thing happened because of that experience itself.
तो आपने कहीं पे भी कुछ भी इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट किया हो, यू कैन हाईलाइट दैट टू गेट योर नेक्स्ट जॉब. बट इम्पैक्ट ज़रूरी है. और इम्पैक्ट तभी आएगा जब आपका, इफ यू नॉट लुकिंग एट यू नो द स्टाइपेंड्स और व्हाट यू आर गेटिंग
or a fixed role.
तो whenever you are choosing or whenever you are looking for internships, you need to make sure कि आप उस internship में impact create कर पाओगे. आप brand मत देखो, आप ये मत देखो कि आपका stipend कितना होगा. You should focus on impact and obviously like what you're learning from that.
Exactly. Because वो एक first आपका playground है जहाँ पे जाके आपने पहले goals मारने हैं. तो मतलब वो बड़ा important हो जाता है. And a lot of people are going to basically judge you on that also. Definitely, it's a safer bet if you can crack a big company, but it might just help you with your starting role.
Yeah.
But then your overall growth journey might get impacted. But
आपके लिए थोड़ा सा monotonous हो जाएगा उस role में, because you'd be another person in that room, just another.
And generally, I've seen that majority of the bosses, they are very open with interns also.
Yeah.
They're ready to basically accept your mistakes, ready to give you roles where you need to think out of the box, where you know that maybe a regular employee might not be willing to go out of the comfort zone, but intern might. So you have better scope for experimentation also.
And if you want to like start your own thing after working for say 2, 3, 4 years, the best bet for you would be starting out in a like a startup or a smaller company, because you'll get a gist of what happens in a company,
And
what are the processes like.
Yes.
That's-
You get a hands-on experience of literally everything under the roof.
Yes. And you will create impact. You will know what you're good at, what you're not good at. You will not be just confined to one role or just doing one thing every day for the rest of your life. So agar your end goal is to start something of your own, and I believe every techie is an entrepreneur. So if you are a techie and you want to start your own thing, the best bet is start with the startup for some years, gather that experience. If you want to, get some funds also, so that would be the best bet. थोड़े टाइम के लिए जॉब करो in a startup,
Even
and
with
then
VC
move out.
firms also, they hire people, those who have these kind of an experience. Even if you fail as a startup, there's a very good possibility that you might end up managing a fund in future, because you need to have that kind of a eye for detail to understand how startups work. If you've not been the part of the ecosystem, it is next to impossible to judge. You might be able to crack certain aspects of it, but to have a holistic viewpoint about things would only happen once you've gone through the grind yourself. And if you've not gone through the grind, you would not be able to relate to it also. And I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs who might not be able to do well with their startups for XYZ reasons, end up becoming one of the greatest VCs you would ever come across.
Yeah.
And really helps. It really helps. So endless opportunities are there. It's a huge pool of things. Like currently, a lot of people talk about generative AI. I have a different view to it because I personally feel that generative AI is a narrative today because majority of the big companies have the data with them. They control all the data. So for them, it makes a logical sense to promote generative AI because if tomorrow generative AI is going to become big, then the Microsofts, the Googles, and the Facebooks of the world are going to control that space.
So you think like generative AI will change the world, or do you think it's just a bubble?
It's not about bubble. It's going to basically make the world more, I would say, centralized. Because of the reason that even if India as a country would think about investing heavily in generative AI, they cannot because they don't have the data sets. The data sets are sitting with the companies like Microsoft, Amazon, AWS, and Facebook, Google, all these companies.
So if generative AI is kind of peaking, we see a lot of like these newer technologies like blockchain, Web3. Will they be impacted?
It's a completely different ballgame altogether. Like Web3 is a decentralized approach. It's a different ballgame altogether.
Yeah.
They are against these big tech companies. I'm not going to say that exactly against the big tech companies, but they're building their own ecosystem.
Right.
The wirings of the ecosystems are completely different. So AI, generative AI, demands your data sets. So somebody who's having control of the data is going to basically build on
Win the
top
game,
of it.
yeah.
So you can now take your own calls who have the data. You know.
And what are the opportunities in Gen AI if you
It's immense opportunities because as I say, like
for people who are who want to build their career
in a corporate environment,
yeah.
for them it's the field to be in. No doubt, the research element of it has almost taken off really well, and now they are kind of concentrated in certain pockets only.
If 5 years back you were in OpenAI, I think you would have lived the complete Gen AI वाला पूरा जो starting हुआ था, you would have lived that.
बिल्कुल.
अभी that is already done.
That's already done because in India the problem is the academia and the industry works in such a way that whatever becomes big in industry then gets adopted or adapted at the academia level. So generative AI wave has already kind of captured the whole imagination of the world. We are just getting the very small byproducts of it. So the majority of the work is not going to come, but definitely this field is here to stay. I'm not saying that there's a concern in that particular part, but how the Web3 is shaping up, they're building their own ecosystem. The entire internet layer is going to become decentralized. And there's a reason to it also because 10 years back, I would say that owning something called a digital asset had no sense.
Yeah.
Like maybe 100 years back, owning a physical asset was not possible. There were no regulations around it, no ecosystem around it. Now, in last 10 years, we people have started valuing our digital assets a lot. Like you are a seasoned influencer. So you are already having quarter million followers on Instagram, but all that is in thin air. Tomorrow, if some imposter comes in and buys a blue tick from Instagram and literally hacks your account, you're done for life. So you know that the transferability of your digital asset to your next generation is not going to be that simple because it is built on such an environment.
Right.
But what if all these creators are building something on a decentralized platform where the community decides what should be the rules? It's like living in a society where community take all the calls instead of somebody having all the power to take the calls. So it's that kind of an ecosystem. So a lot of people are now realizing since digital assets are becoming more and more important on a daily basis, that's why it becomes very important to have a decentralized approach to it also.
Now, my question is, with AI coming and Web3 and blockchain coming, we understand like one top skill is storytelling because it will not, or like working on your like managerial skills or like communication skills to say. But then apart from it, what are the new skills that we need to bring into ourselves so that we are ready for the next 5-10 years?
For Web3, I can easily give you a lot of insights on that because it's something which I do it on a daily basis. It's my bread and butter. So for Web3, one important thing is you should be very good with the community play because decentralization is going to be all about community play. So You should be able to understand how to engage people, how to basically make them part of a bigger ecosystem.
Right.
Second, one very important thing that is there in Web3 is the frameworks, technology frameworks are still not existing. So it's similar to what was there in internet era of 2001, 2002.
Okay.
So like for example, I'll just exemplify it a bit. Like if you want to build a Web2 application, so there's a proper technology framework existing. How you can build an Android app, React is there, front end, back end, everything is pretty well laid out.
Yeah.
You just need to pick up certain tech stacks and you can build a beautiful app out of it. And it'll interact with the users. It'll have every layer attached to it. You can integrate, make it a part of a bigger ecosystem altogether. In Web3, all these underlining things are still missing. So people who are ready to build even the infrastructure layer can make billions out of it. It's that native right now.
I think even security also. If you can build your career in security, go into blockchain security. That also has huge potential. Not just blockchain, but security in general, cyber security.
From an investor point of view, I'll just go through the cycles, how things work. Like first of all, it's the ideation phase. With the dot-com bubble, it was around 2000, 2001 when everybody who were having good ideas were getting good, insane money from the investors.
Right.
Then comes the product phase where you actually bet on the good products, which makes sense. That was 2004, 2005 when Facebook, all these products came in. Then comes the growth phase, 2008 onwards, like after the recession, 2009, 2010, all the money that came in was a growth phase where people were getting insane money to attract users, to have more and more users. In 2018-19 onwards, we shifted to a sustainability mode where if you are a profitable startup, you would still be able to attract good investments. Otherwise, people are not even looking at you. So this is the general cycle that happens. In Web3, we are just out of the ideation phase and we are about to enter, I would say, we have just entered the product phase. So it is that new. So once the product phase will mature, then the growth phase will come and then the sustainability or the profitability would come. So you have good 10 to 12 years of horizon in front of you in Web3.
Yeah.
In AI, again, the product phase is about to, I would say, finish. It's about to get into the growth phase now.
But this is for AI and Web3. I understand this is for people who are building their own products or are building their own startups. But for people who are comfortable working for others, or are looking for jobs in these newish technologies, what for them?
And even for blockchain, there are plenty of jobs out there. The only thing is, these people are not going to come on campus to hire you. So best way is to attend conferences.
Yeah.
If you have events happening in your cities, be a part of that. Be very active on Twitter. Attend AMAs, like Ask Me Anything sessions are the best you could do. Ask questions, ask for opportunities. You can tweet to the founders and co-founders of these startups. 90% of the time, they are going to revert to you.
They will not revert on Instagram. They'll not revert on emails, but on Twitter, they will.
They will. Because
they are that active on Twitter.
Twitter active, and at the same time, they also know, since they're building a community play, they need to encourage this kind of a thing also.
Also, I was recently trying to understand how Twitter works for myself also, and I found out that the best time for if you want to reach out to a founder or say to the CEO, the best time is when they have just tweeted, because after they've tweeted, they remain on the
Twitter for certain time. They always check. Even the people like Elon Musk would reply to you in such a way. I have seen him replying or retweeting or something about that if they like their opinion.
Yeah. So make sure that if you see their tweet just say a minute back or some seconds back, you have the right opportunity to...
That's a brilliant insight. That's bang on, I must say. I've seen it
myself. We do it ourselves. Whenever we post something, we are there for a good time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So,
and this is how we need to understand how the new age technology ecosystems are shaping up.
Yes.
It might not be the traditional way where companies are going to come on campus, hire you, because they're not going to invest that much time into it anymore. Now, instead of building their own infrastructure ecosystem, they want good talent to reach out to them. Or they would do the ground up kind of a thing where from a first year onwards, they will have some hackathons, certain events to basically churn out the best talent. But the traditional approaches are not working anymore.
Yeah.
And that is one reason why the Indian students are not able to become a part of this ecosystem, even though the opportunities are endless in this field.
Yeah.
And
You just need to get out, look out for
Yes.
opportunities on Twitter and
Yes.
then even offline events.
I-
This is for Web3.
Yes.
Now for AI, what is the next 5 years? What does the next 5 year look like?
AI, as I mentioned, we are almost out of the product phase. So now we are going to get into the growth phase. So anybody who's basically more centric around that kind of a skill, where they're growth hackers or they are, I would say, they have that experience of building companies from the 1 to 100.
Yeah.
I think they should be now be very actively looking for opportunities in AI, because as we say that 0 to 1 part is almost done with AI. The
Yeah.
products are there for everyone to see. Now the growth part is going to basically get kicked into. In
Right.
Web 2, in Web 3, we are still in that 0 to 1 phase,
Right.
where we are figuring out what exactly would be the massy products which are going to become big. For generative AI, we've already crossed that bar. So
Yeah.
now people who know how to basically build ecosystems on top of already established products are going to be the ones in demand.
And what is one thing that you think people who are building their careers for the next 5-10 years should know if they want to build their career
In
with this?
generative AI?
Yes.
I think they really need to first of all understand the basic principles of the underlying tech. One
Yeah.
thing that they really need to understand. And then secondly, if they are not at the product layer, they are at the growth layer, then they need to understand the psyche of the people. The user, the UX, I would say, the user experience kind of a thing is going to be the next big thing, because majority of the client onboarding or the user onboarding happens in that layer only, where you're able to track the user experience, do actions according to that, able to encourage users to have strong CTAs. So all those things are going to become important.
I think user experience and then prompt engineering also.
Prompt engineering, exactly. Again,
Yeah.
that again becomes that top layer only. That's not the product layer. That's the growth layer.
Yeah. So in technology also, if you know the right prompts, if you know how this works, you can easily,
Yes.
do
To actually
good.
have a good opportunity at the product level might be very difficult, because now the bar has gone up really well for that. You need to be highly skilled for that kind of a role. But for a growth, I would say part, still there's a lot of scope for it. And in Web3, as I mentioned, even the products are not even been figured out yet. So if you want to be the part of the infrastructure layer, there are immense opportunities.
Yes.
I have
there are.
seen, like last year, I visited one university in, I think it was near Trichy, NIT. I had gone to NIT Trichy, and I had a day off, and then I had a lecture at IIT Madras. So I visited this university in Thanjavur. So there was a guy I met, and he was into this blockchain space for almost last 5-6 years.
Okay.
So I just asked him out of curiosity, like, what exactly you're doing right now? So he said, sir, I'm documenting all the different blockchains. So I'm building documentation part for them.
So
Such an important thing to do.
and
Like,
people are not.
and I'll
understanding.
share my personal experience. Like way back during my BTech, my BTP guide, the BTech project guide, was the chief architect of NVIDIA, Mr.
Okay.
Subodh Kumar. I don't know whether he's at IIT Delhi now or not. So he was the visiting chair at that time from Johns Hopkins. So he kind of said that, why don't you build something on CUDA? So it's Compute Unified Device Architecture library by NVIDIA. So NVIDIA became a $1 trillion company just because of that library. So even at that time, 2007, there was no documentation existing.
Yeah.
So we built ray tracing graphics technology on top of it. And with lot of attempt trials, we were able to figure out how to use that library. So by the time I was about to give my final defense, BTP defense, I had got placed in a company called Alstom in Zurich. So it's 20 kilometers from Zurich. So I was all set that I'm going to fly out. So my BTP guide said, why don't you document your experience? Why don't you build a good documentation of CUDA library? I was like, why would I do that? Like that I've already got placed. I'm going to fly out. I'm going to be in a different company, different ecosystem. That why should I even bother?
Right.
I was just reading this article few months back, that the entire success journey of NVIDIA is built on that CUDA library. Just imagine if I would have maybe started a blog around that in 2008, it would have minted millions for me.
Yeah.
So these are the things you need to understand. When a space is very new, even the elementary stuffs can get you into amazing opportunities.
True.
So I didn't realize it. I like maybe 16 years earlier, if I would have realized it, I would have built a huge career out of it also.
But what we experienced back then, it's like repeating again.
Exactly. It repeats with every technology.
Yeah.
Every new technology, it's the same thing. The cycle remains the same.
Yes.
The ideation, the product, the growth, and the sustainability.
Yes. So for people who are building their career for the next 5-10 years, huge opportunities in AI, in Web3, blockchain. So just need to identify the right skills.
Yes.
And then go all in.
Yes.
That's the
Eric,
right
because
way.
maybe you will not get that well-established frameworks that you are kind of pampered with as far as Web2 is concerned. But then the learning curve maybe initially might be on the higher side, but the rewards are also then much more.
You have been talking to a lot of students from these colleges. You've been having these tours, right? India tours. I want to understand the kind of the generation that we see today. Like, what is one thing that you think is missing in this generation, or you think they should work on that?
I have a very different experience with this. To be honest, like the colleges, those who have given good response are the tier 2 or tier 3 colleges, because there the students are more flexible. For one reason, during COVID, they kind of understood one thing, that maybe if with the traditional fields, if they're going to compete with the top colleges, they might not end up with the good job. So they were ready to experiment, ready to take a new route, and they were able to dive into new technologies much earlier. On the contrary, the top colleges have a very fixated approach towards things. Like if we talk about IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, computer science students, they don't even go into research anymore. They don't even go for all these big tech companies. They are fixated on HFTs.
Okay.
Because like high frequency trading ends you with, I would say, a hefty paychecks.
Yeah.
But then you have to understand that the burnout ratio is also very high.
Yeah.
In couple of years, you get burnt out, and then you have built your skill in a certain tech stack, which is not at all applicable or transferable to any other technology. So you're good for nothing. You're starting out from the scratch after those couple of years.
So I think flexibility is one thing that you need to kind of
Have.
from your college days.
Yes, because the one thing that I loved about the curriculum that we had at IIT Delhi way back then,
Yeah.
though the curriculum hasn't changed in last 20 years, it hasn't improved, but at that time it was ahead of its time.
What are you saying? Like nothing has changed?
Even the assignments haven't changed. Like at least I was tracking it till 2020, 22, 23, 22, I would say. The assignments had not changed.
Oh my God.
Like 20 years assignments were saying, like programming languages, there was an assignment where we had to build a Prolog interpreter in SML. So they were getting the same assignment. Even I remember 3 years senior to us were also getting the same assignment.
What's happening with Indian
And if the people,
education?
professors who are taking up these courses, they are the brilliant ones. They're the best minds in the country.
But why aren't we like updating our curriculum?
There's a
What is
reason
the
to it.
problem?
The reason is because in India, professors and lecturers are not separate. In US, you can be a lecturer and can still be on campus getting a good salary. In India, if you're a professor, you want to fund your research, you have to clock certain hours as a teacher. So teaching kind of becomes a mandatory activity for you. Something you don't even enjoy. So your teacher assistants, those who are master students, PhD students, would do the heavy lifting for you, and you would just fill in for that role. And that's why the zeal to improve yourself as a lecturer is just not there. So that's the concern. So once you come new into the ecosystem, you bring in those new things, and after a certain time you become rotten as the years go by. So that's the big problem. So luckily during our time, the curriculum that we had at IIT Delhi, majority of the professors were pretty young. So they had a very, I would say, platform agnostic approach.
Yeah.
So we worked with 10 different platforms during our degree, like hardware, software platforms, languages. So things were like on a 1 week's notice or 2 weeks notice, we used to get that, ye Java mein code karke le aao. Even we had no prior exposure to Java.
Things were kind of taking shape that time also.
Yes, so they were more, I would say, platform agnostic. So we always had that advantage that during our job projects also, shifting from one platform to another was a very simple thing for us.
We need that sort of flexibility now that we are getting newer technologies and AI coming in place. I think with time we
need to now change our frameworks again. We need to rework our curriculums again and need to understand this thing that platform agnostic approach really worked well for the top IITs. But now even they're also losing out on the sheen because majority of these top IITs are now stagnant. They are not improving their curriculums or innovating their curriculums any further. I have seen some changes in triple IITs for that matter. Triple IITs have been able to evolve, but still, I think there's an ocean of gap. As if you want to compare it with the West, there is still a lot of things to be desired. So with triple IITs, at least still have seen that they have kind of reworked their curriculums a bit because of their newness also, because they're relatively new to the Indian ecosystem. But
and they kind of want to get to a certain level
also because
so
they're competing.
Yeah.
And also they are more, I would say, education oriented because only a couple of branches are there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the other aspects of student life are not covered well because you don't get to have all those extracurricular activity opportunities in these campuses.
High time that IITs and IIMs start working on their curriculum and introduce these newer technologies.
At least that platform agnostic approach that they had for all these years now really needs to get revamped for the latest new technologies also.
Yeah.
And because that was something which was giving them edge globally.
Yeah. Still, I think the name has that sort of, the brand is there.
Yes.
Just need to work on like being flexible.
Yes, definitely.
I think we got a good understanding of what's happening in the market, what sort of, careers will take shape in the next 5 to 10 years, what's, relevant today and what will be relevant for the coming years. And I think for me also, it was a huge eye opener to understand ki kahan we need to work more. The biggest takeaway for me was to work on your relationships when you're starting out, not just in your job but right from your college.
Yes.
Be part of the activities or whatever you can be in terms of events or extracurriculars, and that will give you that sort of exposure that's needed by the corporate. That's the biggest learning from today, and thank you, sir, for coming here, and we'll have another session very soon.
For sure. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thanks.